The UK is the biggest per capita contributor to global temperature change and the least vulnerable.
According to the UNHCR, by 2050, there will be 200 million climate refugees.
7 out of 10 of the countries most affected by climate change are in sub-Saharan Africa.
Climate crisis is a racist crisis.
The average salary of a London City airport passenger is £92,000 a year. In Newham, where London City Airport is located, 40% of the population scrape by on 20k or less.
Airports, power plants and the busiest of roads in the West tend to be in the most disadvantaged working class areas, where a disproportionate number of black and brown communities live.
Environmental racism means that black people in Britain are 28% more likely to be exposed to air pollution than their white counterparts.
Climate crisis is a racist crisis.
The London City Airport expansion cannot go ahead because it would further decrease the quality of life for poor black people in this country. It cannot be left unchallenged.
At the same time, this year alone, more than 3,120 known migrants have died trying to reach safety on European shores, fleeing conditions that they did not create.
If they can't fly, then the rich won't either.
Climate crisis is a racist crisis. Shut it down.
This is Dan Dix here reporting for Press for Truth, and yes, I know I am clearly a white man floating on a sea of privilege, and so therefore I shouldn't be able to report on anything at all. I mean, I'm directly responsible, after all, for all of the greatest evils that have ever engulfed society, so I get it. My speech should be restricted. But is this taking things far enough? I mean, I know I have toxic, opinionated words coming out of my mouth all the time that needs to be stopped, but can we take this any further? What about the other things that are coming out of my mouth, like the air that I'm breathing? Isn't my whiteness affecting that as well? That's it! Air is racist due to pollution inequality caused by white people. Oh man, I wish this was just a stupid, bizarre joke, but sadly this is a real thing. So in today's video, we're going to take a close look at this report that suggests that inequality in consumption of goods and services adds to racial ethnic disparities in air pollution exposure. But just before we do, I'd ask that you please head on over to pressfortruth.ca/donate to find out how you can support my work with either a one-time donation or by joining as a PFT member or a PFT patron. Links are located in the description below. And of course, the best way to support this video is to simply click the thumbs up button and to share it with your friends and family. Alright, so USA Today recently tweeted out a link to an article saying, "The air that Americans breathe isn't equal. Pollution from whites disproportionately affects blacks, Hispanics." And they linked to an article titled, "Study finds a race gap in air pollution. Whites largely cause it, blacks and Hispanics breathe it." Which goes on to say, "The air that Americans breathe isn't equal. Blacks and Hispanics disproportionately breathe air that's been polluted by non-Hispanic whites, according to a study." This new research quantifies for the first time the racial gap between who causes air pollution and who breathes it. Pollution is disproportionately caused by whites, but disproportionately inhaled by black and Hispanic minorities, the study said. Well, this is just lies and straight up fake news, and I can prove it. So let's just go ahead and address this, shall we? This new research quantifies for the first time the racial gap between who causes air pollution and who breathes it. Gee, that's funny, because I recall an identical report published 5 years ago titled 3 Measures of Environmental Inequality. And what they found was that using data on industrial air pollution exposure in the United States, we compute 3 measures of environmental inequality. The Gini coefficient of exposure, the ratio of median exposure of minorities to that of non-Hispanic whites, and the ratio of median exposure of poor households to that of non-poor households. Comparing inequalities in states and congressional districts, we find that relative rankings by the 3 measures vary considerably. We conclude that different measures of environmental inequality may be appropriate for different analytical purposes. And this was written 5 years ago. So right away, we can see that this isn't new research that's quantifying anything for the first time. And let's take a look at the actual study itself. Inequality in consumption of goods and services adds to racial ethnic disparities in air pollution exposure. And let's see what their abstract has to say. Fine particulate matter, or PM2.5, air pollution exposure is the largest environmental health risk factor in the United States. Here, we link PM2.5 exposure to the human activities responsible for PM2.5 pollution. We use these results to explore pollution inequality, the difference between the environmental health damage caused by a racial ethnic group and the damage that group experiences. We show that in the United States, PM2.5 exposure is disproportionately caused by consumption of goods and services, mainly by the non-Hispanic white majority, but disproportionately inhaled by Black and Hispanic minorities. So do you see what they're doing here? They're saying that white people have a pollution advantage because we breathe in less pollution than what we generate. As Donald Trump Jr. recently tweeted, just when you thought you've seen it all, now we have racist air. This insanity has to stop. And indeed, this is quite insane. In fact, one Twitter user recently pointed out the sheer hypocrisy in this report, and he was actually blocked from the USA Today Weather Channel in response to this tweet from USA Today Weather that says, "Unequal air, pollution from whites disproportionately affects blacks, Hispanics." So then SourceStar 2 says, meanwhile, back in reality, air pollution by country, and oh, look at that, these nations here aren't exactly populated by white people. Deforestation by country? Well, what do you know? We see all the same similar results. Ocean pollution by country. And who are the biggest offenders here? China, Indonesia, the Philippines, Vietnam, Sri Lanka, Thailand. Notice anything? You guys are race-baiting fake news. And then they blocked him. Guess how they responded to being called out? Yes, they blocked him. Well, that's because they operate like cockroaches. When you flip the switch and you shine a light on them, they scurry back into the darkness because no one likes being exposed. Speaking of that, if you haven't seen this yet, please check out my video titled "White Privilege Debunked, Ryerson University Conference Exposed," where I expose the fact that this conference addresses global perspectives on white privilege and oppression in Canada and beyond. And also check out this one, Vancouver Council declares climate emergency, i.e. bow to global government or you're all doomed. Links for both of these videos will be included at the end of this video and in the description below. So let's keep shining that light while we still can, folks, because at this point, if they can claim that white people have a pollution advantage because we are breathing in less pollution than we generate, then what's next? The sun is racist because light absorbs differently into black skin than it does white skin. So down with the sun! Down with the sun! You heard it here first, folks, but please help me to stop this from becoming a reality by simply clicking the like button and sharing this video. Awareness is still key at this point, so if you haven't yet, please share this one and click the thumbs up button right now. So that's all for today, my friends. Don't forget to check the links in the description to find out how you can either donate or how you can join us as a PFT member or a PFT patron. So thanks for watching, my friends. Stay tuned. We've got more video reports coming soon. This is Dan Dix reporting for Press for Truth. We all want truth. The truth will set you free.